Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Michelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it. I think you're looking at this all wrong. Most of us have a complete misconception of what rest really is. And I want to show you how it can show up in your life in a way that might just blow your mind. So let me say this right up front. I wasn't always like this because for many of you, and I'm including myself here, rest used to be just one more thing that I felt I had to get right. It was another thing to do, right? Another thing to cross off of my to-do list. The resting to-do list, all the things, the journaling and all that. So today we're going to have a different kind of conversation. Not what rest looks like, but even about what it feels like and why the version that we've been sold might be the very thing that's keeping us from actually healing, repairing, replenishing. So I started noticing it when everything I was doing, even the quiet things, felt like assignments, not invitations, but assignments. Take a bath, check, breathe for 4 seconds, check, close your eyes, check, journal, check, stretch, check, walk, check. I was just checking the boxes. I was doing these things. So I was, air quotation, resting, right? And here's what's really wild about that. I was doing all of it, but I wasn't feeling any better. Nothing was shifting for me on the inside. But because I was doing the work, again, my air quotations, I let myself believe I was fine. And honestly, I felt good about checking those things off. I mean, who doesn't? We like our little to do list and checking it off because we feel like we've accomplished stuff. And the more things we have checked off, well, the better we must be, right? And that little hit of satisfaction, I did it. Well, you know how that feels, right? But the actual doing, it wasn't really doing anything for me. I was following the formula, you know, all those things I just checked off, but there was no fire behind it, no feeling with it, no breath in it. It wasn't alive. It was just motion. And it took me a while to actually realize, well, girlfriend, you ain't resting. I was just performing resting. I was performing recovery the same way that I had performed competence, leadership, calm, fake it till you make it, just do it, make sure it happens, right? Hey, I've been a performer all my life, and I'm really talking about a performer on the stage. And the thing was, so it becomes part of you. And it was just that this performance, all it did was wear different clothes, right? We just dressed it up differently and called it something new. And here's the part that we really don't talk about, or at least not out loud, until you get to that point where you really know what it feels like to rest, to stop striving, to stop proving, to stop doing. You'll never actually be able to rest. You'll keep showing up with your checklist. You'll keep looking for the next right step, but your body will still be bracing. You know that feeling I'm talking about? When you feel like everything is held tight, almost like you have a girdle on your shoulders, your chest, your stomach muscles, and your soul will still be tired. That's what this is really about. Not doing less, but finally feeling what you're doing. Let me ask you right now, at this point in this podcast, do you even know what rest feels like? Look, it didn't come through a workbook and it didn't show up on some list. It came, well, in the quiet. And I almost missed it. It started in the mornings, not because I planned it, but because I needed it. What I started doing is I realized that I wanted to wake up before everybody else in my house while everything was still quiet. And I've always wanted to really build my relationship in my faith. And so I started just going upstairs and sitting and looking out the window first thing in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and just feeling the stillness when no one's talking, nothing's on in the house. And I started realizing that this time with God, this time with myself, not structured, not performative, just me, being me, just still. And there was just something about it sitting there and reading and thinking and looking out over the God's great creation and the trees and the things that I knew that I had nothing, absolutely nothing to do about. And it felt so good that I didn't want to leave. It wasn't a task well done. It was an experience that I didn't want to end. How often do we get that feeling of I don't know another word but peace, a feeling of release, of ah, that's all I could think of to call it. And then the next time I thought that maybe the only way I could get this feeling is only up there in that room. And I thought, I don't always have the time to go to that room. I don't always have that time to wake up early and go through this process, this 10 minutes, this 15 minutes. How can I create this in other ways? And I realized once when I was driving home from work, and I started, there was one point of my drive when I just started looking around and really taking in my environment and really looking at the trees. And I think it was spring and I could actually see the flowers and they were blooming and all the different colors and the lilacs and the daisies and I saw the llama and the sheep. And I know you're wondering, where in the world does this girl live? Well, yes, there was sheep and the cows and the ducks and I was just enjoying that. I was just taking it all in. And I realized that when I'm in my car by myself driving home, that I could just turn off the music and just feel the quiet. And it felt full of the sounds that I had forgotten that I love, the wind, the birds, the baying of the sheep, my own breath, my own thoughts, the kind that didn't demand anything from me, but I could just let them drift. I could feel. And then the next time when I realized I'm not always driving, then I realized there was another way and I started walking. I had a friend that challenged me to walk. And so I started walking, and I started walking in the afternoons. And what I realized is when I was having that time walking, I would use that time to be on my phone, right? And I would be on my phone, and I'd make all my phone calls for the day, so that when I got back in the house, that I had the time just to spend with my husband, to take care of the things that I need to do there, right? And so all of a sudden it started getting really hot at that time of day, and I had to shift when I walk, because you kind of get addictive to walking. There's something that feels good of being out there in nature and everything. And so I started walking in the mornings. And it was around 7 in the morning, or 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and it's before everybody else is really moving around. Even though some people are going to work, is not a lot of cars out. There's not a lot of people out. There may be a few other people walking, and I started walking. And what I did is I started doing my devotional and listening to the Bible and doing those things while I was walking. And I started realizing the things around me, and we're going back to the animals, but the birds and the cat, this neighborhood cat that would always come meet me in one area, and the rabbits and the raccoons, and you name it, the deer were out there, the foxes were out there, and I even saw a bear once. Oh, and a skunk. But these meant so much to me. These were my time of rest. Even though my body was walking, there was a difference in that body. And it was quiet in a different way. There were the animals, but there was space. There was me. I found myself even talking to the animals. They had just as much right as I did to be here. And I'd say hello, not because it was part of a ritual, because it felt like being. It felt like living. And what I realized is this: I wasn't trying to rest, I wasn't managing a moment, I was just in it. That's what real recovery feels like. Not an outcome, but a presence, not an achievement, but a return. And here's the thing: until you reach that moment when rest no longer feels like a box to check, but a place to be, you don't even realize that you're missing it. But oh, once you do feel it, you won't want to go back. So let's talk about this for real. Because if you haven't felt what I'm describing, you might be wondering, well, how do I even know if it's working? I haven't felt that way before. I know I rest, but maybe not like that. What does rest feel like in your body, in your breath, in your being? It's not just taking a break. It's not a nap. It's not a moment on the couch with your eyes closed. Rest, real rest, is what happens when your nervous system is no longer in defense mode, is when the pressure lifts, when your shoulders drop without you realizing it, when your breath goes from up in your chest to deep down in your belly. That real breath from your diaphragm. And you might feel this tingling in your hands, a wave of heat, a softening behind your eyes. You might even find yourself crying and not knowing why. That's your body letting go. There is a physiological shift that happens when you stop bracing for the next thing. Your blood flows differently, your heart rate slows, your digestion changes, your mind stops skipping ahead. You can feel your heart beat. You can almost hear it in your ears. You come home to yourself. And for me and my faith, that home is always to God. Not because I earned rest, but because He offers it. We're not created to run until we crash. We're created to start from rest, to start from being filled, from presence, from peace. So if you haven't felt that yet, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you've been surviving, not restoring. And you don't have to stay there. Let me put it to you this way. A lot of people don't realize that there are actually three parts to sleep. And I know this because I have my little Fitbit here and I'm always looking at my app and I really wanted to learn a lot about sleep because we're always saying you need enough sleep. But there's a difference between rest and sleep. And yes, you need both. Now, when I talk about sleep, there's light sleep, there's REM sleep, REM, rapid eye movement, and there's deep sleep. And each one of those stages serves a specific purpose in your recovery. And if you don't hit all three, especially the REM and the deep sleep, your brain doesn't get the time it needs to fully repair and to reset. It needs a certain amount of time in each one of those. And when that happens, your ability to function the next day is lower when you don't hit those numbers. Your clarity, your focus, your response time, all of it takes a hit. And that's exactly what happens when you don't allow your body to reach true rest. You may be doing rest, but you're not hitting the right layer. You're hitting the surface, not the kind of rest that actually restores you. And I saw this on my Fitbit. When I look at my sleep, it actually has this between 1 and 100 that tells me how prepared I am to conquer my day, to go about my day, to be effective that day. It tells me the full percentage of my full capacity that I'm working with each day based on the sleep that I got the night before. And I'm not saying there's anything that you can do to change what you've already done. If your sleep was bad that night, it was bad, and there's nothing you can do to change that. But what you can do is determine what you're going to do the next day to make sure you meet the numbers that you need to meet. And I think our spirits have something similar. We may not have a watch to measure it, but we feel it. And if all you've been getting is emotionally light sleep, you already know. So here's my invitation to you this week. Don't go looking for another thing to do. Don't try to rest, air quotations, better. Don't chase the perfect ritual. Instead, I want you to notice. Notice where your body softens. Notice what part of your day feels less performative. Notice even where in your environment, in your home, outside, in your car, wherever, that your body does this softening. Notice when you stop trying to be okay and you just are. It might be on your porch, it might be in your car with the music off. It might be in that quiet space where no one's asking you for anything. And when you find it, stay there a moment. I want you to stay there a moment longer. Don't rush it. Don't judge it. Let it fill you before you start moving again. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to explain it. You just have to receive it. Because rest isn't just where you recover, it's where you return to who you were before you had to perform everything. Look, I hope somewhere in today's podcast, something hit a note. No, something hit a chord in your body, in your brain, that some new hunger or desire or yearning touched you. Because it's time for you to rest, to recover, to replenish. And I want to thank you for this time to talk to you and for you listening. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye. If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening, because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.